to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, Area Sales Manager Bill Hosfelt from the southwest Iowa and eastern Nebraska area joins us with an update on his territory. Bill highlights his experience working with us as an ASM. He how crops are looking in his area, how farmers are managing drought, weed conditions, Merschman Corn, and America's Alfalfa. Find out what Merschman Soybean varieties farmers are growing in Bill's area.
Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Turk, Lynn, and a special guest. Lynn, why don't you introduce our special guest this week?
Today we are wrapping up our ASM features. We've got last but certainly not least, Bill Hosfelt with us. He covers southwest Iowa and the eastern part of Nebraska. So Bill, if you want to kind of describe your sales territory and a little bit about yourself to the viewers at home.
Well, thanks, Lynn. I am in southwest Iowa at Greenfield. My territory basically goes from Interstate 35 on my east side, Interstate 80 on the north. I dip into Missouri, a couple counties into Missouri on the south, and I go to basically Lincoln on the west end, and then northeast Nebraska. So pretty good sized territory.
What are conditions like right now, Bill? Where are we at for crop stage? Where are we at for soil moisture? I know that was a huge topic last year for you guys.
Yeah, last year we were pretty dry. This year we're dry. You get west of me and it's really dry. The Lost Hills out in Council Bluffs and that area, that's really dry. Nebraska is really dry. But last night they did get some rains, and the night before we got some rains, but it's spotty at best. It 1 mile away might not get anything and get an inch, so it's really spotty. We could sure use some rain.
So what's crop condition look like? When did everything get stuck in the ground? How tall is the corn? What stage are we at on corn and soybeans?
I would say some of the larger growers went early when the nice weather was. Most of corn is at that V5, V6 already. I mean, it's growing really good and growing fast. Beans, they planted beans last. They're just coming through the ground. You know, a lot of them you can row. Everything you can row now. So it's looking, honestly, for no more moisture than we've had, it does not look too bad, to be honest.
Before we were recording, we were kind of talking about some of the questions we've been getting this week. And I think my number one, I've probably answered 10 times by this point, is why is the corn yellow? So in your experience, you've been farming for 30 plus years and you've been in ag 30 plus years. What's your experience at this point? Why does the corn have different shades of yellow going on out there?
Well, I kind of like to call this the ugly stage in the corn growing season. The corn's not down to the nitrogen, or it's just starting to get to the nitrogen. So you kind of get that yellow wavy, I call it ugly. And once all the corn gets to the nitrogen, it'll even out and it'll turn that lush green that we like. And that's basically what we're seeing now, I think.
Correct. So my version of what the ugly duckling stage is we are going from the seminal roots to the nodal roots on the corn plant. So the seminal roots are the little fibrous roots that are probably like 4 or 5 inches long that come out from either side of the seed. And the nodal roots are the ones that come out of the base of the plant. And there's 3 different sets of nodal roots that'll go out and start anchoring. And when a corn plant gets to a certain size, that V4, V5 time frame that you're talking about, the seminal roots can't provide enough nitrogen because the corn plant's growing so fast, so it has to switch gears and switch over to the nodal roots. And the only way to keep that corn plant green is to have nitrogen right in that root zone the entire time. So the guys that have starter or 2x2, they don't see that green or that yellowing happening quite as bad, but even in those instances we can still get yellowing if we get too much moisture or not enough moisture for the corn roots to get that. So it's that time of year, isn't it, Bill?
Yep, it is.
So what are the weed conditions out like right now with it being as dry as what it has been? Are the weeds still taking off? Are guys getting nervous about posting corn and soybeans? What's going on out west?
Yeah, if you stop at the elevator, there's some of the sprayers and old timers that are saying, there's no use spraying nothing. If we don't get any rain, it's not going to make any difference. This is the first year probably, and my son works for the co-op and runs a sprayer, and this is the first year in probably 12 years or 15 years that I've seen where they actually got the whole Memorial Day off. They got all the post corn pretty much wrapped up, and the beans, it's too early to go post. So they had the time off, and most sprayers are pretty well caught up. Weed wise, corn, weeds are holding down. It's no rain, no moisture. The weeds aren't even really growing too terrible much. So things are looking pretty good, actually.
I think from our perspective, we're definitely seeing some water hemp starting to, in those areas where maybe a planter skipped or a hole from a previous rain event that maybe drowned some out. We're starting to see some 2-3 inch water hemp. Ragweed seems to be a little bit of an issue too. That's taken off a little bit early, but definitely with Bill, from what I've seen in Illinois, and a little bit of Missouri and Iowa, we're setting extremely well going into crop canopy, especially on beans, because it seems like obviously beans we just have a little bit of struggle on weed control, and our pre's held up really, really well throughout this growing season, I guess, so far.
Well, that's out here. We preach pretty hard, start clean, stay clean. And so that's what we do, is we start out with clean field, and everything seems to be holding pretty good. So
good deal. What are you excited for this year, Bill? What changes have you seen in the past couple of years? What varieties are you excited about? Like, talk just a little bit about the products that you use and what you're excited about for this coming year.
Well, my territory is a little weird because I can run anywhere from I got guys that plant 2-3s all the way up to, I got a couple guys that'll dip into the 4s, 4-1s. I was really excited about the Kennedys the last couple of years, and I'm excited about the new Lincoln. I think that's going to be a pretty good one in the ballpark. And then the 2.9 Cherokee, I'm looking forward to that. But most importantly, and excited I'm excited about the Merschman Corn. My passion is selling corn, and it always has been. I know we kind of are a bean company, but I love selling corn, and I'm excited about this corn.
Do you think that the growers will gravitate towards this corn because of herbicide? Do you think, like, what's the main selling point when you're out talking with growers, when you had this allocated amount of corn? What are they most excited about when you're talking to them?
Linda, to be honest with you, most of them are excited because it's us. It's our corn. They trust us. They like the Merschman lineup that we used to have, and they like their ASMs and their dealers, and I just think that they're excited about getting everything in a whole package again, and that where we're going with it. They're excited to do business with us, and that's what I think they're most excited about.
Yeah. To me, that means, having quality products that can go on all soil types, having high level of confidence in ASMs, and the ASMs having high level of confidence in the products, knowing where to place the products. Seed treatment on those products. I actually just got some data that we can bounce up here. Bill, you and I were talking about it yesterday afternoon or the night before. Some of our data, our Tripidity data on the seed treatment, showed as high as 20 bushel yield advantages in cool, wet conditions over in Ohio. And they've been doing testing on Tripidity with corn since 2015. So 15 to 22, the highest, like that high water mark where you could really see some differences, was in southern Ohio at 20 or 21 bushel an acre. So I think the average is like 6 when you look at the piano graph. But we are obviously firm believers in seed treatment. But I think anecdotally, I think you had a customer that said he planted some Merschman corn against competition X. What was the experience there, Bill?
Well, we were just walking through the plot, and he goes like, I want you to know, he said, this corn jumped out of the ground at half a day to a day faster than brand X. He said he goes, I couldn't believe how fast it got up and out of the ground. So that's what I think is the key, is get it up, get it out of the ground, and get it going. And it was planted early. So it did mess around. It got up.
Yep, and that's where we really like the Tripidity from the aspect that, it gives all the nutrition, all the hormones, and all the amino acids built around. I mean, there's a whole plethora of companies that are finally coming into this space.
Correct.
And it's a very, very interesting thing that we've been around the Tripidity so long that we're very comfortable with knowing what it's doing and getting seed out of the ground faster and more even. But for planting conditions like what we had this past year, I just wish we had more of the corn available, because I think we really would have seen a little bit less of an uneven emergence for a lot of our customers, knowing that we can get Tripidity on all this corn. So
yeah, it's not a cure-all to the conditions. I mean, we still have to be cognizant of our weather patterns and our soil conditions, but it definitely seemed like this year was a perfect example of having really good conditions at planting. Maybe like that 4th or 5th day after planting, we got a little bit shaky in our weather. It was able to kind of just stay in the game, and then once it got the signal that, hey, we got growing degree units again, let's go, boom, fired out of the ground, and we were good to go. Where some of maybe the competition just kind of seemed like they stair-stepped their way out, for lack of better terms. It wasn't like a big rush. So we've seen it on the bean side. The proof is in the pudding, and it's very exciting to be able to transition that product to the corn and be able to give guys a really big benefit on their emergence and get that corn off to a healthy start, which we know is goal number one when we're shooting for high yields.
Correct.
Did guys do anything different this year coming out of the drought? Was there anything that management-wise that guys have maybe changed the practice, or was looking at something a little bit different coming out of the drought and knowing that rain wasn't going to be a commodity?
The difference that we had last year, we were in a drought, but the water level, our subsoil moisture was high. We had subsoil moisture. This year going in, we didn't have the subsoil moisture. So there was a lot of guys that didn't do as much tillage, maybe went more no-till and tried to conserve the water that was there. So there were some management changes on that aspect.
Is there any difference on how much nitrogen is being applied because of the dry weather? Or are guys cutting back on certain inputs in fear of not making as big of a crop, or we don't feel like we're in that place yet?
I don't know if we're in that place yet. Maybe if anything, they might have cut back their population a little bit in some areas. On some of the rougher ground, maybe they cut back their population a little bit if they had the opportunity to do that. Other than that, most people went straight ahead with the full gun of nitrogen and fertilizer and just let it roll.
Gotcha.
So Bill, you're a little bit unique in the aspect of your area does do a bit for relative to the company size with alfalfa. So what's got you excited about alfalfa, and what's the prospects for the alfalfa crop for this year?
Yeah, alfalfa, it's coming off right now. It's looking good, high quality. There's more out there than what we probably originally thought with the moisture. I think a lot of people forget that Merschman Seeds has quality alfalfa. America's alfalfa, many platforms as far as the traits go. It's all traffic quality tested. We got a great lineup of alfalfa, and we probably don't use it to our advantage as much as we probably should.
You're absolutely correct.
And in a dry year, you just alluded to it. I was just talking to my dad this morning about, grass hay right now. They're looking at 60% of their average production. They just didn't get the rainfall. Anywhere that they did what they would call maintenance fertilizer, they just didn't get the tonnage off of it. And he made the comment, he bought some 428 from us that he goes, that's his best looking hay. And he's kind of thinking maybe we should introduce more alfalfa into the rotation and that mix, just to have that drought, that I guess we'll call it drought guard, to make sure we have the tonnage to get the cattle through and to have the supply. But yeah, Northeast Missouri is definitely concerned about hay quality and hay tonnage.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard grass is light this year, but alfalfa first cutting was par or above par. Mm-hmm. So good deal. Well, Bill, thanks for your perspective from Western Iowa, Eastern Nebraska. We know all of your growers were fighting drought last year. They're a little bit more used to this dry weather than what we are. So thanks for the perspective this week. We're going to make you hang on. Lynn's got a corny joke for us this week, so we'll see how he's doing here. We'll see if he knocks it out of the park, and then we'll let everybody sign off here. So Lynn, let's hear it.
What do you call a cow with no calf?
No idea.
Decaffeinated.
Ha ha ha. Yep, Lynn might not be here next week, so
So long, everyone.
We thank everybody for tuning in. We thank Bill again for being on with us, and we will see you next week.